is 13 Wham News at 11.
We're following breaking news tonight following a homicide in Rochester's Upper Falls neighborhood. This marks the city's second homicide in just 48 hours. Rochester police say the victim is a 17-year-old man. Good evening, I'm Chase Howell. We are learning of new details just in seconds ago. Police did say that 17-year-old was the intended target. They say he was riding his bike near a basketball court when he was shot. And as Dalton Williams reports, right now it's unclear exactly why he was shot.
Yes, at the time, we weren't able to get many details of the moments leading up to the teenager being shot and killed. But what we do know is his bike was laying nearby. Rochester police, along with Major Crimes, on scene of what marks Rochester's 31st homicide. Captain Adam Radens with the Rochester Police Department says the victim was a 17-year-old male. Radens says they were dispatched to the corner of William Warfield Drive and Robert Warfield Court a little after 7:30 this evening. Police say they located the teen with a gunshot wound to his upper body. He was then transported to Strong Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. This is the second teenager to be killed in a week.
You got to monitor your kids. You got to know where they are at all times of the day, of the night. Make sure that they're home at a decent hour, know who they're hanging out with. Monitor social media. That's a big thing these days. You can find out a lot about your kids if you monitor your social media.
At this hour, RPD does not have any suspects for this incident, and it is under investigation. Live in Rochester, I'm Dalton Williams, 13 Wham News.
All right, thanks, Dalton. A major announcement today by a bipartisan group of senators on Capitol Hill. There has never been a tentative deal reached on some gun reforms. Christine Frizzell has more.
Senators say the plan is to save lives and protect constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans. Agreed to by 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans, 4 of whom are retiring, who in a statement wrote, "Families are scared, and it's our duty to come together and get something done to restore their sense of safety and security in their communities."
And I'm optimistic that the pressure that we are all feeling from our constituents to act and to deliver real results will get us to the president's desk with legislation this time.
The agreed-to framework includes billions of dollars in funding for mental health and school safety, incentives for states to implement what are often referred to as red flag laws to allow law enforcement to temporarily take dangerous weapons away from people who pose a threat to themselves or others. A plan to strengthen background check requirements for gun buyers younger than 21, and a crackdown on criminals who illegally traffic and purchase guns. What's not in the bill? A ban on bump stocks or change in the age to buy semi-automatic weapons.
You don't need weapons of war that can just mow down school children or concert goers or people at a nightclub, people grocery shopping or going to church.
Some of those items, though, non-starter for Republicans.
I believe that somebody that's 18 ought to be able to go out there and shoot ducks with a long gun and to be able to purchase that.
The announcement comes 6 years to the day of the shooting at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, where a gunman killed 49 people. And 2.5 weeks after the shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 adults lost their lives. Still, gun rights groups vowing to fight. The NRA tweeting it will continue to oppose gun control policies it believes override constitutional due process and protections.
We do expect some Republicans in the Senate to try to stall the legislation, which still has yet to be written. Remember, it will need 60 votes to pass in what is already a contentious midterm election season. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
New York Republican Congressman Chris Jacobs says political parties have become too polarized. Jacobs, who recently had a change of heart on certain gun control measures, compared himself to Texas Democrat Henry Cuellar, the only anti-abortion Democrat in the House. He says it was the recent shooting in Buffalo, which is near his district, and being a new father that changed his mind. Jacobs bucked his party by voting for both Democrat-backed gun control packages in the House last week.
But as I talked to Second Amendment advocates on the issue of the absolutism that they have, that nothing should change, no additional controls, Their arguments felt hollow to me.
Jacobs, who will not be seeking re-election, says he now supports raising the minimum age of gun ownership to 21 and banning AR-15s. Closer to home, people gathered in Washington Square Park today to sit in silence to remember those killed by gun violence and mass shootings, both locally and around the nation. The Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester, along with Book Bags Express and Pathways to Peace, hosted a Sit Shiva, a Jewish custom of sitting in silence while grieving the loss of a loved one. They placed 250 chairs in the park, signifying the number of mass shootings that have taken place so far in 2022.
Today, it's grief that unites us, and tomorrow we might think that it's, or we might feel that it's another opportunity to show our strength when we come together to do good work, important work.
People who attended the vigils held signs with the names of victims of gun violence and mass shootings. Today, the First Congressional Church in Spencerport gathered to honor the victims in the Uvalde, Texas mass shooting. Today, a special service held for members in the Spencerport community to reflect and pray for the 19 children and 2 teachers who died in that horrific tragedy last month. The pastor says he just felt inspired to hold this service for those directly impacted in Texas.
Just something that the church felt inspired to do. We just wanted to show our solidarity, our unity, and our support for those families in Uvalde, Texas.
And Rochester Temple is giving back to the victims of the Uvalde mass shooting in a special way. Temple Emmanuel is partnering with students at a local charter school to send messages of comfort along with a small lavender chamomile pillow to all the students at Robb Elementary School where children and teachers were killed.
And when I went and I started reading the notes, I was like, this is what it's about. We have the power to create. We have the power to create healing. Every time they lean their cheek against it, and that could make them think of all the people in Rochester caring about them, it was worth trying to do.
The handmade pillows funded by the community will be sent to Uvalde tomorrow afternoon.
Well, today we kind of got sprayed by a variety of showers late morning and early afternoon, especially east of Rochester, where some of these heavier thundery downpours actually dropped up to a ½ inch to an inch of rain. Now, the next 3 days, happy to say things are drying out. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, look at that chance for precipitation staying low. And we'll have to watch Thursday as we get deeper into the week. Could be some thunderstorms there. But the rainfall today officially in Rochester is going to go down to 0. Nothing fell at our sensor at the airport, but some of the amounts went up off to the east. A real soaker in Ontario County during the afternoon. Some of the amounts down towards Penn Yan, actually around a ½ inch. Now, those storms are off to the east. Still a few flood advisories just to the north of Albany as those showers drift away, what's left of them anyway. And we'll have to watch this. There's a cold front that's coming in from the west. That's going to keep a few clouds around for the next few hours, and I think that's going to thin right out for the morning. Look at the sunshine coming back. Your Monday is looking pretty good there. Lots of sun into the afternoon, and the temperature is going to respond to that this time of the year. Upper 50s off to school at the bus stop. Some of the kiddos heading out for their last week, right? Plenty of sun heading home. Temps in the mid-70s. And we're talking about some real tropical air making its way to town. I'll tell you when, coming up.
All right, Mark, thank you. Former Trump 2020 campaign manager Bill Stepien will testify before tomorrow's January 6th House Select Committee hearing. Another prominent Republican also will appear, conservative election attorney Ben Ginsburg, who is an expert on election fraud. Ginsburg is expected to testify that there was no evidence of widespread fraud in 2020, despite false claims by former President Trump. The Republican election attorney will also speak about the failed court challenges filed by Trump's team. Other witnesses expected Monday are former political editor at Fox News, a former U.S. attorney from Georgia, and a former Philadelphia city commissioner. Georgia and Pennsylvania were key states in the Trump campaign's attempts to potentially overturn the 2020 election results. Democratic New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she will, quote, entertain the idea of supporting President Biden if he runs again in 2024. However, today, Ocasio-Cortez says it's too early to focus on the presidential election. Ocasio-Cortez added, quote, I believe that the president's been doing a very good job so far.
I think if the president has a vision, and that's something certainly we're all willing to entertain and examine when the time comes.
She also signaled she would vote yes on bipartisan gun bills, including provisions on background checks. Still ahead tonight, a local Rochester school is closing its doors for good after 11 years. What this means for its students and teachers. And a community-wide baby shower, how it was much more than just diapers and games.
Monday morning, with more people working from home, what that means for those working behind the scenes like cleaning staff. The changes in that industry Monday on Good Day Rochester.